So a fresh new week has arrived, and here on this channel, that means one thing and one thing only. Every weekend I post an episode of the series we do called Your Take Not Mine, where I turn to you, the viewers, to give me your hottest NBA takes of the week, based on what's going on at the time, and I then choose my favorite submissions and discuss them in a video. This week has been very interesting to watch unfold as a new Rookie of the Year favorite burst onto the scene, and some big matchups have gone down, so we definitely have plenty to discuss. In order to submit your takes, I make a community post on either the day of or the day before the video, similar to the one that you see on your screen now, so if you want a chance to be featured in a future episode, be sure to stay on the lookout for that. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but it also very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Giddy, and he basically says that Luka Doncic will never win an MVP award because he lacks the complete two-way impact that other rising stars have. So this take is coming about because of a few things that have recently gone down, along with the fact that the Mavericks just haven't exactly had the greatest start to the season. The Mavericks are currently in 12th place in the Western Conference with a record of 5-7 at the time that I'm making this video, and Luka Doncic himself is not producing quite at the level that he has over the last few seasons, which is pretty crazy to say with him still putting up 29 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists per game. But objectively, it's the truth with him having reached much higher levels just last year. It also stems from the fact that his efficiency is down, shooting a career low from the field and making just 32% of his threes, but I have a feeling all of that and the team's sluggish start weren't even what compelled this take to come about. See, earlier this week, the Mavericks were in a tight contest against the last place Utah Jazz, which is already bad enough, but the way the game ended has rubbed a lot of basketball fans the wrong way. With the score tied up and there being just a few seconds left on the clock at the end of the game, Luka fell asleep on defense while guarding John Collins, and as a result of that, Collins cut backdoor for the easiest game-winning lob of his life, while Luka appeared to not even know what happened. It's not the first time that it's happened to Luka, it probably won't be the last time it happens either, and yet, despite that, this is clearly a case of typical NBA fan brain under the guise of the "what have you done for me lately" mantra. Like, have we all forgotten that he led the Mavericks to the finals literally a few months ago? I fully expect him to get back to being an easy 30-plus point a night player as the season goes on. The Mavericks are too good not to finish well above 500 and make the playoffs, and I don't think you all realize just how insane it is to be averaging damn near a triple-double while putting up 30 a night like Luka has done for the last 3 years. The reason why Luka is a prime MVP candidate level player is because his production is genuinely as good or better than everyone else's not named Nikola Jokic, and he's shown countless times he can come through in big moments while playing elite basketball in the playoffs. His production outdoes pretty much every other player that was named in this original take, and I'm not going to overreact to a slow start in November and claim that he can't impact winning as if he isn't literally coming off of a finals appearance. The next take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Mr. Awesome, and he says that Jared McCain will be the Rookie of the Year this season. This year's draft class was a mystery from the beginning because there weren't really any clear-cut stud prospects that were obviously going to be stars like there are in most drafts, like Victor Wembanyama last year, Paolo Banchero before that, Cade Cunningham and Anthony Edwards before that, and so on. The class has been called one of the weakest we've seen in recent history, and that may be true in terms of star talent, but I do believe this class has a ton of impactful role player talent at minimum, and one guy that is actually starting to look like an absolute stud early on is, in fact, Jared McCain of the Philadelphia 76ers. McCain was the 16th pick in the draft this year, not even a lottery pick, yet every game he's gotten better and better to the point where he's forcing the Sixers to hand him a more prominent role moving forward regardless of who on the team is healthy. The Sixers as a whole have easily been the league's biggest disappointment to start the season, as they're currently in dead last in the standings while dealing with injury struggles from Joel Embiid, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey, but McCain has been the bright spot of all bright spots. To start the year, he wasn't even in the rotation, playing only garbage time minutes in their first 2 games, He then played limited minutes off the bench in the next 3 and contributed quite positively, only to fall back out of the rotation for the next 2 games for some reason. He was given another big chance against the Lakers. He ended that game with 18 points, and from that point on has not looked back. In McCain's last 4 games, he's averaging a ridiculous 28 points, shooting 50% from the field and 44% from 3, including a 34-point, 10-assist performance against the undefeated Cleveland Cavaliers. He's torching great defenses, he's incredibly decisive on the ball, his basketball IQ is shining in every action he makes. He operates well both with and without the ball, always trying to make life easier for those around him, and he doesn't force things either, so his decision-making skills have been very advanced for such an inexperienced player. But he's blown away any expectations I could have possibly had for him, and it would be insane for the Sixers to not continue to heavily feature him moving forward, even when everybody's healthy. As long as he continues getting the minutes, he's going to continue to be effective, and in a rookie class without anyone else in the driver's seat, I don't see why McCain can't win Rookie of the Year. And finally, the last take we'll be discussing today comes to us from RJ, and he says that the fate of the NBA champions this year lies in the hands of the Bulls, Hawks, Nets, and Trailblazers. This one caught my eye because it's honestly a really fun thought experiment to dive into. Now, to clarify, they're obviously not saying that the NBA Finals will be won by one of these 4 teams. What they're saying is that these are the 4 teams that will likely be the most obvious sellers at the trade deadline this year, and they have valuable pieces that could help put a contender over the top, which would ultimately help decide the finals down the line. Last season's NBA Finals matchup is a perfect example of this in action, as the Celtics acquired Derek White at the trade deadline a few seasons ago, who now plays a pivotal role in their dominance, and the Mavericks acquired PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford at the trade deadline last season, which helped them turn their season around to eventually make the run that they did. These 4 teams are in spots where they're probably going to look to offload bigger contracts for the sake of flexibility as they progress through their rebuilds, and win-now teams are typically the ones that gladly take those guys. Zach LaVine is an obvious trade candidate here to be moved from the Bulls, who could definitely electrify an offense for a playoff team in need of a spark in that regard. Jeremy Grant is an outstanding 2-way wing player in Portland, who just flies under the radar because of the situation that he's in on that losing team, but will definitely attract some offers there too. Cam Johnson of the Nets is a 3-and-D wing that could be the glue guy in the middle of a lineup for a winning team, and the Hawks have Trae Young, who may not be getting actively shopped now, but his name has been on the rumor mill for years, and DeAndre Hunter is another 2-way wing that could help a winner as well, and could attract some offers too. This is why making grandiose judgments about title contenders at this point in the season is pretty pointless, because in a few months, things will probably look completely different. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about the takes discussed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.